Hi, I'm Mark Cosentino, and you're watching The David Carus Show.
Renaissance man. I'm a Renaissance man, super art like Superman, flying like I'm Peter Pan, see my people and we never land.
What's up? Welcome to the David Carus Show. I'm David Carus. I'm about to tell you about some amazing art and artists that you really got to know about, and I want to get started with a big figure, not just in American music, but a big figure in music, period. I'm talking about Bob Dylan. Now, Bob Dylan was actually born Robert Allen Zimmerman in Duluth, Minnesota in 1941. The guy was really something to watch out for in high school. He started forming a few bands, and one time one of his bands was performing at the talent show at his high school, and the principal actually cut off his microphone. He persisted through it. He actually finished high school, went off to college, but he didn't last long in college. He actually ended up dropping out before he finished his first year. Around that time, he really got into a guy named Woody Guthrie, the big, great American singer-songwriter who traveled all over the country, very famous for writing quote-unquote protest songs or songs that spoke out for the working man. And Bob Dylan just idolized the guy. He learned all of his songs, he read his book. It wasn't long before he got the attention of a very significant figure, Mr. John Hammond, who was the guy who actually discovered Billie Holiday at the age of 17 years old. To others, it was really odd that he had picked this guy with a raspy voice who had this weird harmonica contraption around his neck. Dylan's second album was a big hit, and on there were such songs as Blowin' in the Wind, which became a huge anthem for the civil rights movement. A lot of people started to label him as the spokesman for his generation. When asked, you know, about his music and what the lyrics meant and what the significance behind his songs were, you know, he took a really smart and interesting approach to answering those questions. I'm just a singer, you know. I'm just more of a song and dance man. Bob Dylan would actually go on to find himself immersed in even more controversy, not over his lyrics and his songwriting, but over the actual sound of his music. Bob Dylan went electric. A lot of people started booing him, and they started to really, you know, think of him as a traitor who had kind of sold out. At the time, though, when people are booing him and he's experiencing all of this backlash, he's actually delivering some of the most masterful pieces of rock and roll music in the entire canon of rock. The guy just shows that if you just continue doing what you're doing and you don't let anybody stop you, you will proceed towards greatness. He's up to nearly 50 studio albums. The guy is past the age of 70 and still delivers over 100 shows every single year. He's an extremely gifted and talented painter. He's had his life made into a feature film, which was critically acclaimed, where there were actually 6 different actors that were playing him, including Kate Blanchett. If we can learn anything from Bob Dylan's life, it's don't listen to the people that are booing you. Don't listen to the naysayers and the critics. You just keep playing your music and you keep playing it loud. I want to talk about a movie that has it all. I'm talking about it's a comedy, it's a drama, it's a love story, it's got action, it's got special effects, it's got big names, it's a big movie. I'm talking about Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump came out in 1994 and it became a huge hit, the biggest movie of that year, but a lot of people didn't actually see it coming. The movie was originally offered to John Travolta. He thought it was not going to be a great movie and he passed on it. They offered it to a couple other directors, and the directors all turned it down, and one director even passed on it to go direct Addams Family Values. It became a big, huge movie that just dominated the box office, went on to win 6 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Actor for Tom Hanks, and Best Director for Robert Zemeckis. The movie itself is the story of a guy who has a very low IQ, who is written off as just a dumb guy who isn't going to amount amount to anything in life. He just ends up defying all the odds and living the most incredible life you ever heard of. He's a guy with a heart who actually cares about his family and cares about his friends and fights for them and fights for his country. It's something that you're not going to just watch one time, but it's one of those movies that you want to own it, you want to actually watch it several times. It's really a classic, and I have no hesitation whatsoever calling it a movie masterpiece, because it really is. I love music. I want to talk to you about an album that I really love. It's 2009's The Ecstatic by Mos Def. Now, this is actually Mos Def's fourth album. He's been around for a while. You might have seen him in his acting roles, his movies, but the guy's a professional, awesome, amazing musician and artist. The guy can sing, he produces, he's got soul, and he's got funk, and he's got Latin elements, and he's got Arabic influences, and there's a certain kind of almost a Motown-ish feel to a lot of the songs. You know, these are things that, you know, you can sing along to, but he's also delivering some of the most relevant lyrics in hip-hop or in even music just today. The windows on the Ave look like sad eyes. They fix their sharp gaze on you when you pass by, and if you dare to stand, you can see him cry. You can watch him scowl, feel them prowl, while and study every inch about you, fast math measuring what you amount to. The laughter, the screams, the numeral, the song of psalms, the book of dreams. Ends don't meet where their arms can't reach, mean streets, even when it's free it ain't cheap. Ongoing saga, terminal diagnosis, basic survival requires superheroics. No space in the budget for a cape, it's when you gotta fly by night to save the day. Crash landings routinely happen, some survive, others never rise from the ashes. Watching asphalt and observing the Sabbath creates an ecstatic, and there you have it. If you're not a hip-hop person and you are interested or curious what real hip-hop would sound like, this is really an excellent album to start with, because it's such a stellar example of the very best that hip-hop has to offer. It got nominated for a Grammy for Best Rap Album of the Year. Rolling Stone magazine named it one of the top 20 albums of the year. You can listen to this entire album straight through, no problem. You won't skip a track. It's time to jump right into books. I've got a novel by Nobel Prize winning author Jose Saramago, Blindness. The story starts with a guy in a car. He comes to a red light and all of a sudden he just goes blind. The people that he interacts with, they also go blind, and the city faces a contagious form of blindness, and the government steps in. They take these initial people who've gone blind and they put them in an old abandoned asylum. There's actually one person that finds themselves in that asylum who is not blind. This woman decided to tell everybody that she was blind so that she could stay with her husband and make sure that he was taken care of. The guys that are physically stronger than everybody else, they decide to take the food rations and hoard them and actually make people do things or trade them things in exchange for this food, because they're physically stronger and they're just kind of bullying everybody around. Now, this is part of a bigger overall strategy that Jose Saramago has utilized time and time again in his novels, the use of allegory, where he's making this bigger important message than just what's on the surface of the story. What he's really getting into is, you know, what happens when people are not really looking? What happens if they're not really looking out for one another and taking a careful look at the world around them? Jose Saramago is an absolute master. The guy has written incredible books. This is one of his very best. It's something that you really got to pick up and read. It's a page turner. It will have you up. It will have you wondering what happens next. And after all, that's what the best books do. All right, I want to thank you for watching this episode and hearing all these incredible stories of these amazing artists and what they've done. If you like this show, I want you to like the video, tell other people by sharing it. You can share it via Facebook and Twitter, and email it, and send it as a text message, but get it out there. And if you've learned something, your friends or your family, they can also learn something too from it. I want you to click on that button, subscribe to this YouTube channel, so that way you can watch future episodes. I want to leave you with a quote. It's actually from Silver Surfer #4, and this is the mighty Thor that's saying this. "He hath vanished like a fading spark, and I sense the game hath ended. Still his valor hath illumed the realm with a light that shall glow for ages."
Yeah, yeah. Renaissance